One of my favorite things is finding a dress pattern that fits perfectly, and then you can make it out of many different fabrics. Hi, I'm Angela Wolf, and this season it's all about the classics, and I'm going to be working on the famous little black dress. So through every episode, I'm going to show you how to put together the perfect dress for every occasion. So to get started, let's talk about silhouettes. Back here, I have 3 dresses. All 3 of these are different styles. This has a princess seam from the shoulder. That's usually the easiest dress to make. This is an empire waist, which stops right underneath the bust. This is a great dress. Now, the bottom of this dress is cut on the bias, which makes it very slimming. You could also gather this, makes a perfect maternity top. That's another style. Here we have princess seams again, and then we have a waist accent. I added a belt, but there's actually a seam under there as well. This dress even has pockets. It fits my phone in it. It's perfect. Those are 3 of the main styles. So what I've done here, I sketched out some of the designs that I would like to start with. Here again, we have the empire waist. This one had a little bit fuller skirt. There's so many options once you get this dress down pat. Again, here's the princess dress that you saw in the black behind me. And here's one more style, the drop waist. This is really cute with a knit, and this could be a gathered at the bottom. There's so many different ideas. But one thing that's common in almost all of the dresses are darts. I can't tell you how many questions I get about people who sew darts, and they say they sew the dart and they end with 2 little points. How do I get that to blend in nicely? I'm going to show you how. First, what you're going to need is chalk. I have 2 different kinds here. This one is clay. It rubs off. Well, you have to rub a little harder than that. This one is wax. Let me show you something. Look at that one disappeared. The wax one disappears, but the main thing is to test it on your fabric first, because on silks and satins, it will leave a little residue. This fabric looks like it's fine. When I press, it's gone. There's no residue. So here's the trick. You can't use this when you're marking your darts, because if you press your garment, or you have to press the fabric first, your markings disappear. So we're not going to use that one. So look at, this is the back of the dress, and I want you to see how I mark my darts. I lay out my pattern, and I would lift my pattern back, and here's a dart right here. Can you see these little snips here in the fabric? I snip at the edge, so I know that's going to be where the fabric folds, and I put a little X at the bottom. Just like that. So imagine, this is my back dart. When I sew it, that will be my back dart. I also do the same for here. So if I had my pattern, I would just fold my pattern back, hold my finger right here, put an X here, lift it back, and put an X here. So now both sides of my pattern are marked. Again, here's the middle of the dart, and here's the end. So this is a typical back piece. There'd be a zipper right here, but here's your darts. And don't worry, I'm going to show you how to sew these, but I just want you to see how this works. Now, if you've marked your darts, and this, like when you fold this in half, here's the trick. Get this out of the way. When I fold this dart in half, you're going to sew from here, come in, and go out, just like that. I'm going to grab this piece of paper here, and let's pretend this is your dart, because this is where almost everybody gets into trouble. Okay, remember what we just did. This is your dart. So you're going to fold your fabric in half, and you're going to stitch from here to here. Well, I just want to show you something. I'll use another color. If you were to start stitching here, and back stitch, and just stitch straight out and back in, you kind of have a half of a moon. So you have to imagine that's how it would be on both sides. Well, because you started and just started to stitch right along that line, you end up with 2 little points here. There's no way that fabric's going to lay flat. So instead, when you start your dart, use red here, I usually start a little bit above it and stitch a little bit less of an angle. And when you finish it, make sure you have a few stitches down. So this way, you have a nice line when you start stitching. So if this fabric, you have to imagine this is flat, you start stitching, it kind of just angles out, just like that. One more trick. Let me use another part of this. When you're stitching your dart, do not stitch a straight line. So if this is your dart, like this, do not stitch just like this. It's better to stitch either in an outward curve or an inward curve, depending on your body shape. If it's straight, you're gonna end up with points. And the other trick is pressing. So let's get to the front of this dress, and I'm gonna show you how to stitch these darts, and then we're gonna press them. So here is the front. Again, here's my little snips. So here I have a bust dart. That's for this X. I have a bust dart that's gonna go like this. And here's the dart that goes underneath the bust. Just like this. I'm drawing it so you can picture because it's hard to see under the sewing machine. One more thing to keep in mind with your pattern. I really suggest starting with a muslin first, which means just cheap fabric, sew together the dress, and test the fit. It's very rare that somebody can grab a pattern right out of the envelope and it fits perfectly. So you might have to make some changes. One big thing is the bust. These points do not go right to your bust, to the center of your bust. If you do that, you will end up with little points. I always call them headlights. Like, here's your bust. You'd have little points right at the end. I usually start 1 to 2 inches from the center of the bust and 1 to 2 inches from the center of the bust. Just keep that in mind. So if you end up with problems like that, you'll know why. So let's go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to show you how I stitch these. I'm going to start with the dart that goes from the bust. Now you have a couple options. A couture idea is to start with a smaller stitch first. Then you don't need to backstitch. Start with a really small stitch, 1, 2, 3 of them. So I'm going to start with a 1, just like that. And then go back to your regular stitch for whatever fabric you're using. And then just stitch. Again, I'm not using any pins here. I'm just following the line, making sure that this crease stays just like this. You could always put in a couple pins to hold it if you're having a problem. All the way around, on a curve, and then back down to the other side. And now, if I stitch right off the fabric from that curve, I'm gonna end up with a point. If I kind of just taper it just a little bit to the end, go back to a smaller stitch, just like that. Now, if you don't want to do the smaller stitch, you can just back stitch once or twice, just to secure that. So this is what we have right here. See how at the end it's a small stitch? And see how when I came around the curve, I didn't just come right off the fabric, I went straight like that. So there's one, and now let's do the bust dart. This is just a tricky one. So here is try to figure out, I have so many chalk marks on here. Okay, here's our bust. There's my triangle, and here's the tip of my dart because these little slits I was telling you about have to meet like this. So let me get this. Now look at this. This is what I want to show you. I had my triangle marked up here, my little X. You can't sew that. You're going to end up with a mess. So it's better to lay your fabric flat. There's my markings. There's my X. Try to angle it over as much as you can, but this needs to be a nice seam. It cannot be skewed. Again, go back to your sewing machine. This time I'm just going to backstitch with a regular. Again, curving it. Now this time I'm going to do it the wrong way so you can see what it looks like pressed out. If I were just to go just like this, that is what you do not want, okay? I hate to show examples that you shouldn't do, but now you can picture this. And I'm going to press it and show you what it looks like. So we have our 2 darts. Go back over here. The ham. The ham is going to be your best friend. It has a curve on it. That's the key. If I were to press this dart, which I'm going to press the one that we did bad, you can already see look at that. I already have points. I haven't even pressed it yet. If I were to press these darts just on a flat surface, I use a lot of steam. Look at that. If that was against your body, which I'm going to use the ham and pretend it's my body, there's that point I'm talking about. That is very, very, very unattractive. We don't want that. Now let's go to the one that looks good. Take another look at this, how it's stitched. Had a little back stitch there, but now another thing, your darts always go towards the center of the body. So if it's the back piece, you press them towards the center back. This is the front. So I'm just going to start at the tip of this dart and press towards the inside of the dress. Now I'm going to press this once without using a clapper because the clapper really sets in this dart. I want to try the dress on first. So before I actually set these darts with the clapper, I'm going to press it and just check the fit. Again, that's pressed towards the inside of the garment, and the bust dart is pressed down. For the back, if you have an upper back, it's pressed in, and the bottom ones are pressed in as well. Just press from the right side here just a little bit to give you. Okay, so let's see how this one looks. See the difference, even just setting on the table. Now the whole purpose of the dart is to go around your curves. So if you have like a C or a D bust, you're gonna need maybe a little more accent with the darts. If you have an A bust, you can still use darts. They just won't be quite as extreme. So here we go. You can kind of see where the bust is supposed to go. Again here, that's a no-no because it's sticking out. This one, see how nice the transition is on the fabric? It just glides. So we'd have both of these finished, press to the inside, test the fit, and then see what happens. One more thing I want to show you on darts is if you have a really, really, really thick fabric, you could cut this open and press it open. That would be a little bit less bulk. Another thing that I like to do, which I'm going to show you in another lesson, is I press these towards the inside and I top stitch on them. Then I never have to worry about when I'm dry cleaning, they don't move around, they lay just perfectly. So that's how easy it is to sew darts.